Yo, got a 98 Malibu in here. The build date on this is 10 of 97. I got to put rear struts in it because it's got a broken coil spring. I tried to get quick struts for this and they were wrong. There's two different kinds of struts you can get. The early model Malibus for 98 have 3¼ inch distance between these two holes, center to center, and then everything from 98 on up is 2½. So they didn't have quick struts for this, which is a complete assembly. I tried two different places and they were both wrong, so I had to buy struts and I got to do all this separate. The only coils I could find too are cargo coils, so the back end of this might be all jacked when I get it done. You run into that with a lot of quick struts that you do too. I think they put cargo coils in almost all of these because a lot of times the front end or the back end, the ride height is not the same after you put these in a lot of times. I'm going to show you how to do this. First thing you should do is go in the trunk. I already took these bolts out, but there's one 13mm nut right here that you got to take off of the shock tower. You just pull this carpet out of the way and it's right there, one on each side. The right and left are both the same part number and it's the same procedure for both sides, so I'm just going to do one side and show you what's up. These nuts are 18mm. These bolts are splined. Just knock them out. There's two more 13mm up here. And then it kind of falls out. When it drops out like that, you just got to try not to trip it up on your ABS wire. If you have anti-lock brakes in here, I think they all do. And you just got to find a way to kind of squirrel it out of here without scratching the lovely rusty, crusty paint. I got a fancy coil spring compressor for this, but I don't feel like digging it out. I'm not using it. You can buy these at Harbor Freight, strut spring compressors. You can usually rent them at parts stores if you want to use this kind of junk. It's a light enough pressure spring, so I should be able to do this without having any real serious problems, I hope. You're going to need an impact wrench of some kind for this too. I'm just going to get that kind of taut. You got these goofy things I can use for this. I don't know, a lot of times I use vice grips or I don't use them at all. It's just a little extra safety precaution to try to keep this coil from spinning down on you. Does it work? Yeah, kinda. Usually a vice grip works better if you got enough of them. That'll keep it from moving around a little bit. You're always going to need a pair of these. You always want to make sure that this is all right too. See, this is, if you look at this, see how it's not perfectly straight. I mean, this kind of turns too. It will really well now because this coil spring's broke and it's resting on there all funky. But it should be in line with this, like this. So when you put your other stuff back on, make sure it's the same way. You always want a little bit of tension on this spring when you take this nut off. You're going to kind of have to do it to keep the shaft from spinning. I think this one's going to spin. Sometimes they're splined so they don't, but I think this one will. And this coil spring's already broke, so I don't think I need to tighten it down too much because it's not going to go flying out like most of them would. So I'm just going to be brave and just take this nut off now. See if everything goes flying apart on me. Nope, it didn't do nothing. Probably didn't even need these things. Take that off. Coil off. The reason why I took this apart is because I got to save this bellows boot in this. I can't see ever needing to replace these. They're built like a shit brick house. Just loosen these up a little at a time. These come compressed. All you got to do is grab the hex top and just turn it counterclockwise and it should pop out. And this part of the coil always falls into this spot right here, like so. So put this bellow on first. The bellow there. Just go a little at a time. Oh shit. That's why these things suck. These things can get downright dangerous. I'm telling you. Freaking spooky. It's actually slipping on this rubber, plasticky, whatever you call it, junk. Alright. I'm going to put a vice grip on the bottom of this one. That should keep it from going somewhere, I hope. Oh shit. This ridiculous thing came right off. Danger, danger. The cheesy danger. See if I got this danger zone done enough. You want to make sure this has started a good couple turns. And once it is, you got to line this thing up. Loosen these up a little at a time. Make sure it falls in the pocket real nice. Danger, danger. That's not square. There, it's pretty square. Well, there's a good amount of pressure on this strut, so I can try to tighten this up the rest of the way. Sometimes I use the old nut too, because this is a lock nut and they're a pain in the butt. Sometimes they don't like to tighten up. The shaft will just sit there and spin. I got it though. I got it. You can probably imagine how much of a hassle this would be without an impact. If you don't have an impact, you could probably take it to a shop and just have somebody put them together for you. They won't charge you an arm and a leg, I'm sure. And if you look, see, that's nice and square. Looks pretty good. And this is in the pocket. That's all that really matters. Now that I can compare the two, there is a big difference. There's more coils on this cargo coil, and it's a little higher. I don't know if I'm going to have to put some dead bodies in the trunk or what. We'll see. Now, as you can see, there's enough corrosion on here to feed a third world country. I'm going to get all that off of there. I'm just going to use a chipping hammer. And of course, wear safety glasses because this stuff really likes to fly in your eyeballs. If you ever need some aluminum oxide for a science experiment or something, you might want to keep this. Might be good to have around. You never know. Wow. That looks like hell. Get that one stub lined up with that hole. Tighten these up tight enough so they don't rattle. I'm sure right about 22 foot-pounds is all the farther you want to go. Now this is super fun. It's crooked in here. See how crooked that is? I got a nice long pry bar and a punch. There's two lower control arms here. I'm going to go over one and under the other and pull down on it. I got an alignment punch here. I'm going to try to get it in this hole. Okay, I got that one. And then this top one, I can just give it a good push. And if you want to, you can try to put a jack under here and jack it up. Just be careful when you do it, so things don't blow up in your face. Like that coil spring that almost blew up in my face and almost crushed my fingers. If it would have went the other way, I would have been not having fun with the fingers. Pound that one in. Pound the other one in. Try not to smash your brake line. Get these good and tight. And of course, last but not leastly, I got these two top nuts I gotta put on, one on each side. Yep, and as I suspected, Moog isn't the problem solver on this one. Everybody sells coils like this, even on the ready struts or quick struts. This thing's all jacked up in the back end like a back to the 70s car, so I suppose he could put a couple bags of sand or some dead bodies in the trunk and it'll level it out the way it's supposed to be. I could put some of them clamps on the coil springs too to drop it down, but I'm not going to do that. Normally if the ride height's different, the alignment's going to be a little bit off. On the rear though, it doesn't matter too much with this type of suspension, so I'm just going to let it go. Okay, bye.